Everybody to this Euroconsumers Masterclass. My name's Gary from Web Summit. If you have any questions during the masterclass, feel free to ask them in the questions tab and the folks will address them at the end of the session. Please note that the chat section is just for a general chat. Questions put in the chat section might be missed, so please ensure you put them in the question section. Okay, Marco, would you like to kick things off?
Thank you, Jerry. So good afternoon. My name is Marco Pirani. I'm Director of Public Affairs and Media Relations at Euroconsumer, the world's leading consumer cluster in terms of innovative information, personalized service, and defense of consumer rights. So altogether, gathering 5 national consumer organizations, we represent the voice of 1.5 million of consumer, I would say individual. I say individual also because today we speak about privacy and privacy of all the individuals. Today we are here to announce and celebrate, I would say, the winner of the My Data is Mine award, created by Euroconsumers to support young scholars who have an innovative approach to data protection issues. Together with me are the 2 co-chairs of the jury panel that have voted and decided who is going to win. We are going to see in a few minutes who is the winner. The 2 co-chairs are also very good friends of Euroconsumer, therefore also good friends of consumers. So you see them here. Liz, Elizabeth Cole, is a consumer expert, very long experience in consumer protection. And Marco Cialdone, professor of law at the University of Rome. But before to give them the floor and to say many more things intelligent and interesting than what I am saying, I want to also thank for their contribution and support the other distinguished members of our indeed multi-stakeholders jury. First of all, to Ursula Pachl, Deputy Director at BEUC. BEUC is the umbrella consumer organization in Europe, of which our national organization, Testascià, Testancop, OCU, Deco Proteste, Deco, and Altro Consumo are proud members. And then also Els Bruggeman, Head of Policy and Enforcement at Euroconsumers, so another consumer representative, and Brando Benifei, member of the European Parliament, Melissa Hekila, tech reporter at Politico, so a journalist, and then I don't want to forget any of them, so I'm reading. Pedro Oliveira, Director of Legal Affairs at Business Europe. Greg Mrotkowski, Director of Public Policy at YAB Europe. Luca Cassetti, Secretary General E-Commerce Europe. I believe I didn't forget any of them. I'm happy because we have a very, very distinguished person that collaborate to this, and it's represented the industry, consumers, institution, journalists. So I believe it was good to work together. And in this first year award of My Data is Mine. So I stop here and maybe asking to Marco, the other Marco, the younger one, why is this award named My Data is Mine?
Thank you, Marco. Thanks for your kind introduction, and thanks to Euroconsumer for inviting me. For me, it's a great honor to be co-chair of the jury that will assign the first edition of My Data is Mine award. So before starting, let me take you back to 2017 in Brussels when Euroconsumers launched the My Data is Mine initiative. And on that occasion, it was emphasized by Euroconsumers that the new scenario offered by the emerging technology required a different approach than in the past. It was clear in that moment that in order to fully grasp the benefits of the new technologies of the internet, it was necessary to overcome in a certain way the traditional struggle that there is between business freedom and fundamental rights. In that moment, the organizations that are part of Euroconsumers decided to join the forces with all the relevant stakeholders and to create a better ecosystem for the internet and for the consumers. So more than 3 years later, if we look where we are now, we can say that that approach was totally correct and was 100% right, because especially for the keywords of the declaration, data has become a fundamental asset, an essential resource for economy, for job creation, for the advancement of society in general. And in this context, I believe that only by bringing the consumers and the right at the center of the scene, the data economy can really thrive. And that was the core of the My Data is Mine declaration. That was the purpose of My Data is Mine declaration. And the context that we are living is a context of a massive amount of data that is generated not only by humans, but by machines, more and more, by devices that we bring in our home that live with us day by day, and they generated a lot of data. And this data enables predictions. So we can say that in a few years, company will have the power to predict the desires of consumers even before a consumer wanted something. If this may appear a little bit dystopic or futuristic, you should consider that 7 years ago, so a long time ago, Amazon registered in the United States a patent called anticipatory shipping, which was based on the idea that at a certain moment in time, it will be more convenient for Amazon to ship goods before the consumer order them, because the artificial intelligence system will be able to detect desires of consumer and anticipate them. Of course, we are still far away from that. Right now, this kind of system can predict no more than 25–30% of the choices of the consumers. And so we can be comfortable with the fact that as human beings, we remain unpredictable in our choices. But it's something that it's really interesting to look into, because the technology that we have created to expand our freedom doesn't have to develop into a system that backfires us by limiting and controlling us. And the role of the Consumers Association in this context, in this scenario, is more and more fundamental. And from this point of view, My Data is Mine was a big challenge for consumerism, because there was the idea to give life to a new form of consumerism that, without giving up the traditional fighting approach of the Consumers Association, started cooperating with the relevant and responsible market players to create a better ecosystem for the consumers and to become, in a certain way, a reliable reference point for the consumers and for the great players of the market. So in this sense, I think that the most important lesson that we can take from My Data is Mine declaration is that if we want to build a solid data economy, consumers must be the center of this economy. We must escape from the temptation to see this economy as a business-to-business economy. This is a business-to-consumers economy, just because consumers are the main actors of this economy, because they are the workers of this economy. They produce the data on which this kind of companies thrive. And so in this scenario, I think that the profits that data generates in some way must be shared between data controllers and data subjects, if we speak in a data protection language, and they must be the center of this scenario. And it's really interesting that we, as consumers organization, said that 3 years ago, and just a couple of days ago, the Commission launched this proposal for regulation called Data Governance Act, that for the first time have a provision regarding the intermediary for data sharing. So there is the recognition that data has an economic value on one end, and on the other end that this data can be maximized through the intervention of professionals. And if this is correct, and I think it's absolutely correct, as I mentioned a couple of years ago in an event that took place in the Italian Parliament that was managed by Euroconsumers, Consumers Association can work as data broker. This is a new approach that they can have, because it's undeniable that this data has a value, but it's undeniable that the individual cannot manage this data and extract value from them. We need a data broker, and the Consumers Association have the expertise to manage this task more and more in future. So I think that now I can give the floor to my colleague Liz Cole for the most important part of this masterclass. As I mentioned at the beginning, we are here to celebrate our first winner of the award, My Data is Mine. As you said before, My Data is Mine was an idea to support young scholars who have an innovative approach on data protection issues. And as you will see in the essay, and I think you all will read the essay that has won today, data privacy, data protection has more and more intersection with other fields of the law, with consumers law, with antitrust law, with collective redress issues. And I think that it's important to recognize the value of these young scholars, because this new generation, in a certain way, will assure that the concept of my data is mine will become real and will live more and more in the future. So I really like to give the floor to Liz Cole, just to introduce the work that we have done in the jury with the wonderful essays we have received, really interesting papers, and to tell us a little bit more about who is going to win. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marco, and thank you Web Summit for hosting this event, and thank you so much for the honour of being part of the jury for this first My Data is Mine award. It's been an honour, and it's been really fascinating to have a chance to dive into these essays in detail. So as Marco described, the My Data is Mine declaration is in part about ending this either or discourse that we currently have around data. For example, it's either innovation or it's protection, or it's either value or tight regulation. And what this means is we need to find the missing piece of the puzzle with regards to how it can be both, how we can have autonomy and self-determination and a choice of safe, fair, convenient services that create value and that we all can value. And I feel really strongly that this relies on the creativity and knowledge of many people coming together. So creating this strong and empowering data future for consumers, it's not something one organisation can do. It's not something one sector can do. It needs a combination of governance, innovation, some vision, and human-centred design and understanding. And I think crucially, it needs people in these frontline data roles, consumer organisations, companies, technologists, regulators and lawyers, to have the boldness and imagination to visualise a way forward, and also to have the skills to think through how you would do this in practice. So how do you then implement this? And I think what's been great is in these 5 shortlisted essays for the award, we've heard from young researchers and practitioners who are each displaying this bold pragmatism. The essayists explored the relationship between consumers and their personal data in the light of recent developments in Europe. And they looked at how that relationship might become a more equitable one. And what's fascinating is everyone took really different perspectives. So you can see, you open up the floor to ideas, you get a huge range. Some of them looked at the idea of the monetization of data and how sometimes this concept sits somewhat uncomfortably in the EU framework, where privacy is the fundamental right. Another looks at the broader intent of GDPR to not just protect, but to enable free movement of data. And they thought through how mechanisms like digital identity schemes or data transfer projects or data portability tools, which might act a little bit like an e-wallet for data, how these might help consumers actually put the theory and concept of data portability into practice. And another looks at how privacy and data protection closely relate to individual autonomy, and expressing why privacy is not just important in and of itself as a fundamental right, but as a way to enable people to access information or services freely and make our own choices with autonomy. So you can see it was a strong and diverse field. But from this field, we've chosen a winner, and it was a very clear, thoughtful essay. It was located in the legal perspective with a really strong practical take on the prospects for collective consumer action, enabling consumers to declare and claim truly that my data is mine. So here's a bit more about the essay. Against the backdrop of the EU's high bar for the fundamental rights to data protection and the gold standard of the GDPR, this winning essay explores the difficulties in reconciling this right with the reality of data collection and its uses, which is sometimes complex. The essay proposes an effective and realistic way to frame a consumer-friendly relationship with one's data, identifying the importance of the shift towards a more holistic approach to data protection, competition, and consumer law in the digital economy. And it points out the opportunities of consumers' collective redress and the role of stakeholder groups in realising this. It's therefore with great pleasure that on behalf of the jury, the first My Data is Mine award is awarded to Laura Semeni. Laura, can you please join us?
Hello.
Let me tell you a little bit about Laura. She's an associate at Pearstone Law Firm in Brussels, specialising in IT and data protection law. And she also conducts research with the University of Louvain in Belgium. She has a law degree from Bocconi University and an LLM in EU law from the College of Europe. She's previously researched and taught at Bocconi University, looking at constitutional law and digital privacy. And she's authored pieces on data protection law, online disinformation, and internet regulation. And I'm delighted to say she is now the winner of the first My Data is Mine award. So massive congratulations to you, Laura.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Euroconsumers and the jury and the Web Summit for hosting us. And let me say it's a great pleasure to receive this award, and even more so because this year it is dedicated to the memory of a great European and Italian lawyer who has greatly contributed to data protection law. I would like just to make two small points, which are the core of what I point out in my essay, which I hope you'll have the chance to read. And the first one, as Liz kindly introduced, is that I submit and recommend the adoption and endorsement of a holistic approach to data-related concerns in the European digital economy. So as we all know very well, the internet and digital revolutions have greatly improved our lives and brought about many benefits, but they have also raised a number of challenges and threats. Within the framework of the European Union, EU law and policy have tried to address these challenges and these concerns under different frameworks, namely data protection, consumer protection, and competition law, among others. And what I would like to stress is that while it is certain that these fields of law are different and that they should not unduly overlap, nor should power or competences mix, especially in the context of law enforcement. It is still very important to recognize that they also share a lot. They are part of one single family, which is the body of EU law, and that they can also significantly complement each other and learn valuable lessons from each other. And for this purpose, it would be, I think, greatly helpful going forward that not only do these different fields and their competent authorities cooperate, but also that there is a sharing of expertise among the different stakeholders and policymakers and enforcers in this context. And Giovanni Buttarelli, for one, understood very well these intricacies from the beginning and greatly advanced this cause during his time as European Data Protection Supervisor. For example, with the seminal opinion on privacy and competitiveness in the age of big data, as well as his personal achievement of establishing the Big Data and Digital Clearing House, which particularly sought to promote the cross-fertilization of studies and expertise in these different fields. The second point that I would like to make, which has already been underlined by Liz, and which I believe is also a common trait probably with the other essays, is to stress the great significance of individual control in this context, both for individuals, both as data subjects and as consumers. And so individual control is an important fundamental aspect of the fundamental right to data protection under European law, and is also a crucial objective of the GDPR, which has tried to revive and strengthen this notion. However, we must also be realistic and acknowledge that great asymmetries in terms of information and power remain in the market. And for this reason, the notion of individual control seeks precisely to empower individuals in their capacity, both as consumers and data subjects, to freely act as actors in the market and make their consumerist choices and privacy-related choices, etc., but also to have effective set of protections and safeguards that are set in the law. And in this, for example, I'm thinking of the information and transparency requirements set by the GDPR, specifically, which also come from a long history in consumer protection law, but also to provide a robust set of data subject rights which are actionable directly by the individual, as well as to provide different forms of remedies and redress, which will soon also be possible to be collective in the European Union. Finally, I would like to conclude with just a final thought, which is last but not least in importance, which is that in order for individual control, both for data subjects and consumers, to truly be real and effective, there's also a lot of educational and cultural efforts that has to be made by all parts involved. And this is to really change the perspective of individuals and businesses and all stakeholders of enhancing digital literacy and privacy awareness, to shift from the idea that privacy is a burden and a compliance issue, and really understand and embrace data protection as a shared value in our society.
Thank you very much, Laura, and congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
I want to take the chance, because the essay of Laura is really enlightening, and it gives a way forward on the sometimes clash between consumer protection and data protection. And I believe this is a path that we need to work out together. So I invite, I think we are publishing in this moment in the Euroconsumer website the essay of Laura. So I see in the chat that many are asking, and I take the chance to say, you just go to euroconsumer.org. This award will be replicated every year, and we will recognize with an award every year enlightening writer like Laura. So I mean, I hope that this award will have success also in the next years, because we need this kind of exploration in the legal and economic approach to data protection and consumer protection. And moreover, this award has also in itself a little monetary value, because we award 1,000 euro to every year to the winner. So congratulations also for this, Laura.
Thank you.
I think we have only 5 minutes. I don't know if we can get any comment or questions from the floor. If not, I would love to keep on speaking for 1 other hour, but maybe Marco, Liz, do you have question for Laura? We have the chance to have the winner here.
Yeah, no, I only want to say that the essay was really brilliant. I liked a lot, not only for the content but for the structure of the essay, and I think it's really important the intersection that I read in the paper between data protection and consumers law and antitrust law, and the fact that it was mentioned even the class section. The Euroconsumers is taking against one big player of the market, just to say that the fighting spirit that I was mentioning in my introduction is still alive in the consumers organization. But really, really compliment Laura for your say. It was incredible. And I saw in the chat that a lot of people are asking if we are going to publish even the other essays we received, at least the essay that we evaluate at the end with the jury. I don't know, Marco, if there is any problem to do this, but if there is not, I think that it would be a great gift to the public to publish even the other ones.
This would give also transparency on the way that we evaluated in the jury the different essays. I'm not against. I mean, that's really a good way out to keep on and having a debate. So why not? Yes, but it will take some time, because for the moment I think it's the moment of Laura, and
yeah,
Laura
absolutely,
will. I think it's already published there.
Let's go and download it.
Yeah. Liz, do you have a question or further congratulations for Laura?
I just wanted to say, yeah, another congratulations, and my favourite part, because it's something, having worked in consumer rights for many years and seen the evolution, particularly in the UK, of collective rights actions, which we hadn't had before until 2015, and seeing how these cases are coming through now, I think it makes me feel quite inspired that there are tools, even though they may take a long time because they involve lawyers and courts and judges, and that there is a path and a way that consumers are able to show and express and signal what they'd like from the market. So I'd like to congratulate you on that, and I'd also really, everyone listening today, urge you to read Laura's essay, and also look out for next year, and if you know of any other bright young minds who can think boldly and pragmatically, we would love to hear from them.
Thank you very much again. It was a pleasure.
I want to, they already answer, because they are listening to us, and they say we are going to publish by Monday the other essay on so Euroconsumer.org. You find many other things, also our battles, not connected to data protection, but to other things. Maybe I want to just say, so it's also a way to recognize. I read on LinkedIn that there is also the Liz's daughter watching us, because in a way we are speaking about also things that are important for the new generation. So I understood that Lee's daughter was more interested to some singer around here in Web Summit, but I think also new generation need to explore also the value of data and how data should be protected, of course, as a fundamental right, but also should be exploited to make our life better in the next future. So what I love pretty much is the mix of protection, but also exploitation of the value of data for our personal interest and collective interest. And I believe this is pretty much in the essay of Laura. So congratulations again. I believe, I don't know, Gary, I don't see Gary anymore. I would love to keep on going, but I think our time is finished. So I have to say, I hope to see you all here in Web Summit, maybe next year, if possible, also in presence, hopefully, so to the next year.
Thank you, Marco. And
Thank
thank you
you.
all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.